Hey, all. Welcome to this episode of Zach Thinks Share podcast. I I'm not excited to deliver this recording today, but I know that I need to get it off my chest, and so I'm hoping that kind of word vomiting this one out is going to help. I'm sure all of you will appreciate the subject matter of it. Real quick, if you've found these long form videos really valuable, if you could do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, whether you're on Spotify or Apple, helps me out, helps me improve the guests that I can have on, and maybe someday a sponsorship, but I'm not too worried about that part right now. I just want to keep making cool friends and having good conversation. I think that multiple people have told me they appreciate the longer form podcast, hearing me think and talk out loud with people versus just, the 90-second chopped up version of the things that I have to say. So what I want to speak to is I've done more research than I wanted to on this, and I've been ruminating on it for much more time than I would have wanted to. So I'm referring to Will Compton, one of and Taylor Lewin are the co-hosts of the Bussin' with the Boys podcast. It's a Barstool podcast. Recently, I'll walk you through the timeline of events and some of my thinking around it. So the bottom line of it is I want to make a response to that. And I have so many thoughts and feelings around it that I need to talk them out, I think, in a long form arena. And I'm hoping a gold nugget comes out of this here. I can just take a clip from me here to respond with it. But it started out with Will made a video, or they did a podcast. He just had a daughter come into the world. That when he made the clip, it was about 5 days into being a parent of a second child. He started off strong, saying, "My wife's been a rock star. She's killing it. Had a C-section." And quickly turns that into an overflex for any dad. And I think what hurts is, so he says, I've heated up this many lunches, heated up this many dinners, cooked this many dinners, cooked this many lunches, did 17 diapers. Now again, in over 5 days, that should be 40 plus diapers. So he's not even doing half of them. Now he's a former NFL player, so is Taylor. So, they have a pretty successful podcast with a lot of sponsorships. I don't doubt they're making good money and could easily afford a nanny. So I don't know what part of nanny is part of the picture. They didn't provide that context. Paige from Paige Connel, aka Paige, she's a page turner on Instagram, TikTok, made a video calling it out, saying, wow, like how normal is it and sad is it that men are flexing about what they're accomplishing as new dads, and they're not even hitting the minimum. And she did what she does, which is call out bad behavior, call out suboptimal, substandard performance when she sees it. And I thought she did a very clear job. She did, I think it was like about a 4-minute video, which is on the abnormal side, but she did a deep job breaking down all of the things that he said. Now, I think that there are certainly some things that he meant to be comedic. I mean, he has a dumb teenage boy sense of humor and likes to make fart jokes, which brings in a young male audience. One of the stats that he included was that he took 5 personal shits for himself. And there was like 1 or 2 other stats that were like clearly gags, but one of the ones he seemed really proud of was that he did 87. Hey, honey, can you get this for me? Sure, I got you, honey. So I calculated over 5 days, 5 days times 20, we'll say 8 waking hours, let's say. 12 waking hours, 5 times 12, that's 60 hours. 87 of them, he's doing about 1 an hour, which that's not crazy. That's not. So the other part was that he called himself a machine. And those are just not machine numbers. That's weak. But I think what's more interesting, what I've been really ruminating on. So I made a response video. Paige made a response video. Professor Neil made a response video. There are a handful of other reaction videos out there. But Paige went to task with him the most, I think, held him the most accountable for like, look, this is not actual flexing. She didn't necessarily say what would be flexing, but called out like, this is not it for sure. like if you had done all the diapers while she's recovering from her surgery, maybe. So that was one. And then the second one was similarly, Neil took him to task on it. That video didn't perform quite as well. It didn't have quite as much viewership. I think Paige is at a couple 100,000, not a million yet. Neil's is probably under 50,000, I think, last I checked. I sat on that video. I saw the original clip. I was like, oh yeah, easy bucket. Like, I'll definitely make a video about this. And then I sat on it for probably 8 hours, really thinking about what am I going to say to this person. And as I was digging, I realized, oh, he has podcast. He's not just any old bro necessarily. Former NFL player. He hosted one of the podcasts that had Donald Trump on. And what that tells me is that he is one of those target audiences that was targeted to sympathize, empathize with Trump during the election. And that was one of the target audiences, was getting those young men that had misogynistic views. What I want to say, but what I still need to talk through here, because I'm an auditory thinker here, is it occurs to me that he is a misogynist, and I'll share why, but I don't know how to put that into 90 seconds. I don't know how to put it into 60 seconds because of the amount of interactions I've had to have with his content, with his people in his comment section, etc., and or some of the DMs that Paige even shared with me of some of the things that were said. So what I want to go with here, and it's a mess. The next aspect of it was that he saw her video. He didn't. So I made a video. I responded to it, and rather than like calling him straight out, I tried to welcome him in. He has a girl dad hat and a girl dad shirt in those videos. They have girl dad merch on the show, and it sounds like there are multiple dads in there that have girls. And for anyone that knows this, Professor Neil broke this down maybe a year ago or more, is that girl dad was a term that came to exist because of Kobe Bryant, because it's arguable that he wanted to change the perspective of the public opinion on who he was as a womanizer, as a sex offender. And so if you say, well, I'm a girl dad, like I'm a dad of a girl, I'm proud to have a girl, then it's assumed that you can't have both of those things at the same time. So it was arguably a publicity stunt, and it seems to be a facade that often sexist people put up. I don't call myself a girl dad. I don't need to call myself a girl dad. I have a toddler that is likely, if they stay cisgender, will likely be a girl. If they're cisgender, they will be a girl. I don't associate with being a girl dad because I'm going to be the same dad no matter what sex my child is and or gender. So I think it's an interesting thing to come from, is I thought, okay, he wants to talk the talk, he wants to wear the clothing for it, but he's not necessarily walking the walk. And so I had a more pleasant, I gave him shit for, excuse me. I gave him shit for, I'm trying to remember what the actual thing was. I poked at one or two things in there. But pointed out, like, dude, those aren't machine-like numbers. Here's what you could have, what would have been a more appropriate flex. I asked, like, hey, to the people that are watching this, please tag him in it. Like, I want him to see this. I want to welcome him to the table. I want to invite him to lean in, and rather than throwing around hate, throwing around anger. At this point in time, when I had made this video, he had already made a response video to Paige. He made a response video. It started off with, he looks and sounds pretty upset. He defends himself saying, hey, I'm like a postpartum dad here. I've been working. I am a good dad. And then he transitions into this kind of attacking role at one point. So I guess this is his thing, is that he'll respond to people by making a fart noise over their video, which I don't find that entertaining. That's just not me. Apparently some people do. Good for them. But as he takes a part of her clip sharing what she has to say about his stats, he just makes a fart noise over it. And then he follows it up with making, I don't know that it's misogynist, I don't know that it's sexist, but it's inappropriate. Talking about a Stanley Cup being shoved up somewhere. I'm trying to remember what the other comments were from it, but it was disrespectful for sure. And that was followed by him. I don't know if you guys have seen the meme before of the Grim Reaper knocking on different doors, and it looks like he's had different beefs with other people in the media, Washington Post and a couple other ones. And so it's the Grim Reaper knocking on the door, and Paige's face is on it, has been cropped onto there. He's clearly put some effort into what he describes as a war with what the moms of TikTok or Instagram. And he just goes after Paige. And so when I responded, for my gut, I was feeling I wanted to come from empathy. I wanted to do the emotional labor to invite him to lean in. He was tagged 20 times in it. I counted 20 plus times people have commented on my video with his name. So it should have made it to his inbox. He should have seen it. I have seen nothing. And I was talking with Paige about like her experience, because I noticed that I don't know if it's the comments are shut off, if they've been restricted, but I think there was like 500 or somewhere. I saw multiple videos between like 500 and 1,500 comments on there, and a lot of men giving her shit like unnecessarily. Now I took some time, went through it. I was nap trapped yesterday, going to urgent care with our child because they puked at school. And so while I was nap trapped, I was just reading through the comments. At some point, I asked Paige, like, hey, I feel like this isn't that bad. I feel like I'm missing. So I don't know if you've deleted comments or whatever, but I saw a handful of them saying that her video is reported for hate speech, which that's disappointing that people do that would try to deplatform people that are not doing hate speech. But she sent me a couple of the DMs, and if you have children in or around you, either mute or earmuffs. So one of them says, just straight up, get fucked. One of them says, you're dumber than shit. Dude, this brain rattled to provide his family. Tell us how dumb you are, please. You are a chick yapping. Go jump off a cliff. Die, you fucking whore. Dumb cunt. Hope you go broke this website. No effort put into it. Get back in the kitchen and shut the fuck up, bitch. Will Compton would body your ass. You're not doing God's work. You're just cringe. And so there are a couple things. And one of the things that I thought was interesting, Paige pointed to me, was that he got kind of called out. She said, like, he's sending, she said in a follow-up post that he's sending people over to send hate speech her way. And some of the things he responded was, she's back. Paige made another video and is now grasping at straws after her missed assassination attempt last week. She's going after the fans now, trying to find an angle, so be careful when throwing a comment or message her way. So rather than calling out the misogynistic, the hurtful, I'll just keep it to that, the hurtful comments that are being sent her way, he's not saying don't do it, don't be assholes, like we can have a conversation here. He's saying don't do it or else she'll have ammunition. So that was, I think that's honestly, I think the first red flag for me was the fart thing, but I don't, as I've learned more about how dumb his humor is, I just feel like he doesn't know, he doesn't occur to me as all that intellectually deep, or he's unwilling to be on camera. And so that one doesn't bother me as much as it did up front, but it's the fact that he starts with anger and then goes into sort of attack mode, rather than just saying like, yeah, you know what, you're right. I recognize that, the 17 diapers while she's going through postpartum is not 100%. And part of it's because the nanny was there. He didn't say that. He said, I'm going through postpartum and I've had surgeries. And I think he gave a bunch of points that didn't actually illustrate anything useful. It just kind of pointed out that he wants to get defensive about it rather than say that. Now, a next point was that he talked about it a little bit more length, not much. I think it was a 7-minute clip. Again, in the car, nap trapped, I had the time to kill. So I took like 15 minutes to try to find the 6-minute segment of his podcast where he talks about it. The title of the podcast is like War with Girl Dads or something along those lines. And it starts off with, I can see, he says, I can see where she's coming from. You know what? I think I can just play it. Give me just a second. I'm just going to play it out loud here because I screen recorded it.
Here's there. But yeah, big game this weekend. My shout out goes to great fathers. Great fathers. We're all very aware of the inequities that go on between men and women in parenthood. And my shout out goes to those men, those troops, those fathers out there bridging the gap. We're talking about women. We're talking about guys like yourself, guys like myself, guys who are also proud enough to talk about the stats and the numbers that they put up on a weekly basis to help their significant other, to help their wife just bridge that gap, to take on the mental loads. Oh, let me think about dinner. Let me make dinner. Let me do the dishes. You watch football. I'm sitting there just greasing the dishes yet last night. Charles watching football. Sweetheart, watch football. Get off your feet. You went through hell. Let me handle this for you. Making dinner, heating up dinner, making different dinners. Got to heat up Charles. Got to make roux. Got to make myself a little bit of a plate. We had some Thai basil chicken I found on Pinterest last night. Yeah. So I made that. Your boy look at scrubbing the dishes. I had to get a flick. I had to set it up, put the timer on, get a little flick. My wife, she's sitting there with the two girls. They're watching football. I want to say, playing on this game last night. The Broncos had just scored. It was Broncos Raiders. And your boy's just grinding away in the kitchen. How'd you even get that photo? Don't know how that photo came about, man. You know, I got cameras all over my house
of him doing dishes.
But set up the timer. Outside. Set up the timer. I was like, oh, this would be perfect. Definitely just thinking about my girl Paige out there watching from afar, just seeing this dad being mad, just number after number. But yeah, that's my shout out. No for shout out. That's awesome. To the great dads out there, to the dads in the trenches, the proud fathers in the trenches, bridging the gap of inequality between husbands.
But what annoys me is he's saying that these men are bridging the gap of inequality, and he's not. Like, numerically, clearly not. The reason we don't talk about dads enough is because we're not fucking doing enough, Taylor.
Dan, we get it. Moms, you're the heroes of the household. You're heroes. Yeah. But dads, man.
Yeah, we got,
And now they're flipping to the picture of the Grim Reaper on the door.
Fortunately, there's been a couple dicey ones that I haven't really came back from.
Like what?
I don't know.
I think this is one of them, Will. It's okay to take an L. Like, it is okay to acknowledge that you are not winning this conversation, that you are, in fact, putting out more hurt than good in the world right now.
I'm sure there are a couple.
Yeah. Man, I'm sure she had no idea what she was getting into.
She didn't. I mean,
she had no clue.
And I'm for her cause of pushing that. If I was in her, advisory board, it'd be, let's encourage the fathers out there that are showing themselves, not like trying to
get off your high horse,
not trying to drag examples that you see out there. Clearly, she had no clue that we were in the middle of a joke of me venting those numbers. Mm-hmm. I remember going home that day and telling Charles, like, hey, sweetheart, just FYI, I vented a little bit on the pod. I pumped my numbers a little bit, and I had a little good time with the boys. She was like, oh, I can't wait for that clip.
When she came out,
that clip's going viral. And the next thing you know,
why do you think it was going viral? Because in fact, that there were shit stats, and you knew you were going to get clapped at by a bunch of moms out there, and you knew that there were going to be at least one or multiple people stitching up that picture, that video, and calling your ass out. Like, is that why it was going to go viral? Because that's usually how viral things go, is it pisses off enough people to jump in the comments, and or people make shoulder content off of it.
I'm getting back from Chicago on Thursday, and I see this happening. I'm like, we got another Cold War coming, boys. She had no clue what she was getting into. I saw the boys in their double.
Before he says the next piece, so what's disappointing really is he says she had no idea what she was getting into. Me and her, we absolutely know what we're getting into. We know that we are poking people that are misogynistic, that don't agree, that don't see the big fucking picture, which you clearly don't, Will. And so when you say she didn't know what she was getting into, what she didn't know necessarily was that she was going to get a bunch of hate speech from a bunch of your followers that are attacking her at angles that have nothing to do with the fucking conversation. When you say that she had no clue, you are pointing to the fact that you have a bunch of misogynistic men, a bunch of misogynistic boys that are going to go into her comments, go into her DMs, and start wreaking havoc in an unhealthy, unrespectful way. That's why this is a problem. That's why you are misogynistic, because that right there shows that you knew there was bad things coming, that you could arguably say that you had no power over, no control over, but at the same time you absolutely did. You could have said, look, there's no need to throw hate her way. We're going to disagree about this. I'm part of the cause. I want to bridge the gap of inequality. But then that is exactly what happens.
You were one. Taylor was one. Sherm was one. Sherm, you might have DM'd her.
He probably did.
You DM'd her?
No,
Sherm?
he said okay to send. Did he actually send that DM?
Yes. Yeah, he actually sent the DM.
That's a little much.
That's what I'm saying, bro. I'm like, Sherm, what are you doing?
I was hoping.
Yeah, we had some
I was hoping to get
go.
on the other side of enemy lines, get her on my side for a second, and stab her right in the back.
Stab her right in the back. That's what you're going to do. Got it, Taylor.
A boy, Nick Howlett, he sent me a screenshot that he had DM'd her, and she like laughed at his response. What'd you tell her? He's like, I'll keep that between us. Some of my own guys working behind the scenes. But she messaged me talking about how she's disappointed in me being a girl dad, like mentioning that kind of stuff, but yada, yada, yada. I'm thinking to myself.
She DM'd you?
Yeah.
Oh, she's taking it too serious.
Yeah.
She's one of those.
When she saw that I was starting to...
She's one of those. So that's a moment where he's not able to hear the words, but he's immediately saying, oh, she is a woman that is taking something seriously, too seriously, or just seriously. And he feels the need to say, she is one of those, therefore we can write off anything that she has to say next.
Back and everything else, because I said yapping for 4 minutes, obviously, again, leaning into the joke. Like, you don't know what jungle you're walking into. Just know you're about to get bit.
You don't know the jungle you're walking into. Just know you're about to get bit.
She's like, oh, as a girl dad, yada, yada. And like, I understand where she's coming from. However, the disappointing thing is you're not doing your own due diligence on your boy. You see a viral clip, you just want to make content. You want to try and drag me through the mud. Like, you're messing with the wrong one.
It's less about that we're trying to drag you through the mud and that we're trying to call out behavior that we consistently see. All the time we're seeing dads. I've done it myself. And you clearly don't have the self-awareness to see when you're creating harm, especially with a consistently young male audience that are impressionable and are going to take your words to heart and think that when they do 17 diapers in the first 5 days of postpartum, that they're actually doing something. They're going to call themselves a machine.
I'm the wrong example to do this with. And we're about to show you. You reach, I teach. You reach, I teach.
She wasn't reaching, though. She was calling you out in a very specific way. And what you're doing right now is you are teaching other young women, you're teaching your daughters, if they were old enough to see and understand this, is that if you get called out in a very clear, specific, accurate way, you are going to bite back and you're going to say inappropriate things. You're going to bring your misogynistic crew to bring to the DMs and the comments, and you're going to teach her a lesson that this is not her conversation to have. And you're going to say, you need to sit down and shut up. And that's it, is you don't get to call me out on those things. So you reach, I teach. She wasn't reaching, and there was nothing to teach. And therein lies the problem. She's not the potential ally of you. You're a potential ally to women around the world, and you're proving that you're actually not an ally.
She could become an ally.
You guys could fucking be the allies. You're not the movement. You're the assholes right now. What does that mean? To bend the knee. Now, I've thought about this, because this is one of the shittier comments that I feel like has come up in this, because this clip here, the 6-minute piece, it feels like there's a lot of innocence going on, but to bend the knee, right? What would that mean? That would mean, I don't think it's meant anything like inappropriate, but what I think it means is she would have to walk back her words and say, you know what? No, you are a good dad. You know what? No, the stats, yeah, those are good. And that's just not accurate. Why would she need to lie? That's how I'm interpreting that. To bend the knee would be to apologize. is how it occurs to me. And I don't think she should. I think she was completely accurate.
For sure need to send her merch. Yeah. And great shout out right there, Sherm. I was telling her at the end of my little 4-minute video the next day, I had an opportunity to start pushing our Black
And now they trail off into sales.
Friday merch. We got new boy mom stuff, new girl dad stuff. We got a lot of fun merch dropping there. It's just sick. Be a fucking wolf hoodie. Taylor's got on right now with the boys up front. It's got this whole design on the back.
What I think disappoints me the most is that there's just so much opportunity for him to actually bridge the gap of inequality, but he can't get out of his own fucking way. He can't let his ego down. For someone to call him out, imagine how big of a person he could be by saying, yeah, she actually makes a really good point. You know what? I didn't. I've made excuses. I've recognized that she has held the weight. She has been a rock star, but she shouldn't have to be a rock star. And so I think the pain that I'm having about this is there's so much opportunity knowing that, you know, their podcast, it's a significant sized podcast. There's a good chance they helped sway or get people to the voting booth for Trump. There are young men that are watching this that could be growing in a positive way, and you spoke about it, you paid lip service to it. There's zero follow through. There was zero follow through. And so when you say you reach, I teach, like that right there is misogyny. And the difference between sexism and misogyny, so sexism is the judgmental of inequalities, the judgment of inequality. So I made a accidentally sexist comment not long ago. I was on a discovery call with somebody, and I was talking with them. Hey, do you have an admin or an assistant or something? Or he's like, yeah, I have a secretary. About 30 seconds later, when I went to refer to the secretary, I used the pronoun she. So I was assuming that the secretary was a woman. And so that right there, just a moment of sexism, right? The assumption that a certain position was filled by a woman. Now, misogyny is the policing of that. So the DM comment that I referred to earlier, I think the clearest one, I mean, all of them are misogynistic because what it is telling is for the woman to stop talking about something and go back to whatever your place is. And I think the get back in the kitchen and shut the fuck up, bitch, like that right there, that is your misogynistic comment. Like the clearest one. There's so many of them that are going to be nuanced and undercover and like not clear. That is the clearest one right there. I want so bad for these men to see and change and shift and hear themselves and see the hurt that they're causing out there. And I don't know what words it's going to be besides calling them the fuck out from another guy, because I'm my job shouldn't exist. The fact that I am a coach for men to help them see the inequalities in their marriages, like it shouldn't exist. But this is the world that we live in. We currently live in a world where misogyny, sexism, and patriarchy have existed for a long time. And my existence as this coach is literally someone just calling that out and being a palatable messenger for the message that all the wives are talking about out there. Now, there's definitely some moments where I'm able to hold empathetic space for both sides so that teaching can happen. I think that's what I learned as a teacher. So I can see his side, I can see her side, and I feel like I can bridge that gap. I don't think that it can or would happen in social media. I don't think they would have me ever onto their podcast to call them out on it. I would hope that they could, and I hope that they could find value in that, but I don't think that they're going to be the ones to be able to hear that, because as I'm just continuing to hear and think and see about what they're about, even in the introduction to their podcast, they have I don't know if it's a custom song or if it's original a song, but it's saying, "Bussin' with the boys, a woman can't tell me what to do," something like that. And it's just a further point of like, whenever you hear, say, with the boys, right, there's this culture of misogyny that's going to exist. And I think you hear it at the beginning of every single podcast. I've now listened to like 2.5 of them, sort of. I just skip through all the sports talk to see if they have anything worthwhile saying. So I don't think there is a single good clip in there, but I think I have an idea of what I want to speak to. Well, thank you guys for letting me talk this one out. I feel like I've let Paige down in terms of having her back, and it's time for me to show up as the person that I think y'all expect of me. And I wanted to bridge the gap. I figured if I don't make a palatable message first, then there's no chance. But if I make a palatable message first, then maybe it'll be received well and good things will happen. Otherwise, it's time to bring down a little bit of a hammer here. Thank you.